Hello there, welcome to CNR Extra here on City TV, coming to you live from our studios at number 5, Ola Hansen Lane, Tessano, Accra. My name is Philip Nielate. Coming up, visiting U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris announces the U.S. will intervene to help Ghana solve its economic and debt crisis.
We support Ghana's engagement with the IMF and will continue to push for all bilateral creditors to provide meaningful debt reduction for countries that need it, including Ghana.
Former President John Dramani Mahama confident of victory in the upcoming NDC presidential primaries after going through vetting on Monday.
I was asked questions about the party, how to strengthen the party, the electoral process. Well, I was asked questions about the country and my views for repairing our damaged economy.
And Trades Union Congress demands immediate reinstatement of local union leaders whose appointments have been terminated by Sonon Asogli Ghana Limited.
All our colleagues, the 3 leaders who have been sacked for no crime committee, must be reinstated immediately.
And later on CNR Extra, Ghana Black Stars settles for stalemate with Angola to stay on course to qualify to the 2023 AFCON.
We want you to win the game. You have to approach every game to win it.
CNR Extra is live on CCTV. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comments via WhatsApp line 0204447033. And we are streaming live on YouTube or on CityTube. Hansen Ajimani, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, my brother.
Let's bring you the very first story, and that has to do with the U.S. government in Ghana. And she has been promising and announcing that the U.S. will intervene to help Ghana solve its economic and debt crisis. Let's bring you that insight.
Government says it will help Ghana overcome its current economic challenges. Visiting U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris says the U.S. will intervene on Ghana's behalf with members of the Paris Club for debt cancellation. Speaking to journalists after a meeting with President Akufo-Addo at the Jubilee House in Accra, the Vice President of the U.S. says the U.S. will continue to support Ghana in these difficult times. Our correspondent at the presidency, Sami Wiafi, has more.
The U.S. Vice President arrived in Ghana with a 12-member delegation made up of ministers of state or secretaries, as well as business executives and other appointees. The meeting with President Akufo-Addo centered on the economy, regional security, and women empowerment. She announced plans by the U.S. government to help the country overcome its current economic challenges. She says the U.S. government will intervene on behalf of Ghana to get debt forgiveness from the Paris Club as part of the IMF balance of payment support.
I was honored to host you at the White House in 2021, and then again to meet with you during the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit last December, and then to be here today to accept the invitation you so graciously offered that I would visit your beautiful country. So thank you for the warm welcome. President Biden and I have made clear that the United States is strengthening our partnerships across the continent of Africa. And we are guided not by what we can do for Africa, but what we can do with Africa and our African partners on this continent. African nations such as Ghana play a critical role in a number of global issues, whether it be the issue of food security, the climate crisis, or resilient supply chains. African voices, including that of Ghana, are critical to global peace and security, including the defense of the United Nations Charter. And African ingenuity and innovation, I am certain, will shape the future of the world. As I begin this week-long visit across the continent, it is wonderful to start here in Ghana. Mr. President, under your leadership, Ghana has been a beacon of democracy and a contributor to global peace and security. Your leadership in particular and personal engagement has strengthened the ties between the diaspora and the continent of Africa. And President Joe Biden and I are grateful to have you as a partner. Our countries share a long history, our people share a long history. As you have mentioned and we have discussed, in 1957, when Ghana gained independence, your nation inspired millions of Americans and millions more around the world. Martin Luther King Jr. and many other Americans were here to celebrate that occasion and to witness the dawn of a new era. And since then, the promise of Ghana continues to draw us near. Hundreds of thousands of Black Americans came here 4 years ago to participate in the Year of the Return, and more return every year. They have come here as a reminder of the history of slavery. They have come to honor their lineage and to understand their ancestry. And I thank you, Mr. President, as we have discussed, for your personal leadership in prioritizing engagement with the African diaspora. Our people-to-people ties are a source of strength, and the Biden-Harris administration is committed to these ties. As you have mentioned, we have had today, this afternoon, a wide-ranging discussion. We have discussed a number of important topics, including the importance of concepts and priorities such as freedom and liberty, which are, to be sure, at the core of who we are as Americans and who Ghanaians are. Mr. President, you put it well during the State of the Nation a few weeks ago, and I'm going to quote you when you said, "It is important we never forget that democracy is not a static achievement, but a promise that needs continuous nurturing." I agree. I often, in fact, say that there is a duality when it comes to democracies, in that they are both strength and an exhibition of strength, and they are fragile. We appreciate your leadership in response to recent democratic backsliding in West Africa and standing up for democratic principles around the world. We also recognize Ghana's significant contributions in the Sahel, and I thank you for your leadership there. To help address the threats of violent extremism and instability, today I am pleased to announce $100 million in support of Benin, Ghana, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, and Togo. Last week, President Joe Biden announced a strategic plan for coastal West Africa as part of the United States strategy to prevent conflict and promote stability. Today, funding and the announcement that I've just made will help implement that plan and will address security, governance, and development issues in the region. With regard specifically to the economy, I recognize the challenges Ghanaians are facing, especially in the wake of a global pandemic and the disruptions caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We welcome Ghana's commitment to reforming its economy to deliver sustainable and inclusive growth. We support Ghana's engagement with the IMF and will continue to push for all bilateral creditors to provide meaningful debt reduction for countries that need it, including Ghana. We must work together as an international community to ease the debt burden that is facing far too many countries. It is critical to do so, to build long-term economic growth and prosperity, and to increase U.S. investment, a key priority for our administration, and in particular, private sector investment. Our partnership with Ghana is already strong, and today, Mr. President, I believe we strengthened it even more.
Another issue that dominated discussion was the LGBTQ right, with the current legislation in Parliament. President Akufo-Addo told journalists that the current bill will meet the aspiration of all when passed.
We don't have any such legislation here in Ghana. A bill has been proposed to the Parliament of Ghana, which has all kinds of ramifications, which is now being considered by the Parliament. It hasn't been passed. So the statement that there is legislation in Ghana to that effect is not accurate. No legislation. The bill is going through the parliament. It's going through the parliament. The Attorney General has found it necessary to speak to the committee about it regarding the constitutionality or otherwise of several of its provisions, and the parliament is dealing with it. At the end of the process, I will come in. But in the meantime, the parliament is dealing with it. And I have no doubt that the parliament of Ghana will show, as it's done in the past, first of all, its sensitivity to human rights issues, as well as to the feelings of our population, and will come out with a responsible response to the proposed. The legislation was a legislation that is being provided as a private member's bill. This is not an official legislation of the government, but it is one that has been mooted by a handful of private members. So we will see what the final outcome of it. But my understanding from a recent discussion I had with the chairman of the committee, the substantial elements of the bill have already been modified as a result of the intervention of the Attorney General. We will see what the final outcome will be, and that is the stage at which I will also have the opportunity to prevent. As far as the presence of Wagner is concerned, we're concerned about it. We made clear our concerns because, first of all, it raises the very real possibility, which is one that we need all of us on the region and the continent to be aware of, that once again our continent is going to become the playground for great power conflict. Because one group of people coming, whether they are an official or an unofficial group, all of us know the realities of what's going on. It's not very difficult for another group of people to say, there will come. And before you know it, the issues that are of concern to us, keeping our country and continent free of great power rivalry, will be a reality with us. So that's our major preoccupation. Yes, but in any event also, we want to be in a position to resolve our own security problems ourselves, as much as possible without the intervention of foreign troops. The presence of Al-Qaeda in Ghana, I don't know. Formally, we don't have any information to that effect. It may well be that there are cells, etc., already in the country, but those are matters that the security agencies are very much on top of. And we're hoping that there will be no Al-Qaeda presence in Ghana. That has to be the wish of anybody who is a friend of this country and who wishes the Ghanaian people well.
So as part of the visit of the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, she's expected to have a speech at the Black Star Square. My colleague Charles Owusu-Kumi is stationed there to bring us up to speed as to what is happening there. Charles, good morning. What is happening at the Black Star Square now, and how is the preparations like to receive the Vice President of the United States to give her speech?
Well, Philip, it's a celebration of the arrival of the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris here in Ghana. Youth groups run from various campuses from Ashe to the University of Ghana, to the Ghana Institute of Journalism, now University of Communications and Arts. So many youth groups from different universities have converged here at waiting for the arrival of the U.S. Vice President. When she first touched down in her speech, she mentioned that Africa has a youthful population, and by 2050, it is expected that 1 in 4 people will be living on the African continent. So, per the estimation and the youthful nature of the African population, this is a strategic continent going forward in world affairs. And so it's expected to deliver a keynote address to these youth groups gathered here, trying to inspire the African youth. So she's not arrived yet. The ongoing speeches laced with some entertainment We've had the the Ghana Dance Ensemble already performed. Currently, there are pieces from various groups. Security is quite tight. The U.S. Secret Service, they've been in town for quite a while. They are all over the place. There are Ghanaian police officers also available trying to keep law and order here. I haven't seen government officials, but just pressmen and people from the U.S. Embassy. And like I said, youth groups from the various embassies and other youth groups haven't convened here waiting for the arrival of the Vice President.
Charles, from what you have indicated, we have a lot of students there. Can you say that we have maybe people out of the circles of the students? And if yes, what have these groups been telling you as to their expectation from the Vice President?
Well, some of them are just excited to see the U.S. Vice President, especially when you speak to the young girls. The fact that she's a woman and has been able to rise to the level of a United States Vice President, they are inspired by that. So they are waiting to hear what she will say. They are happy to set their eyes on her. Some of them are also hopeful that this will impact the country positively. Some of them say that times are hard, and so the arrival of the U.S. Vice President, they expect that she would impact the country positively in that regard. Basically, these are some of the things we're getting from the young girls and boys who have gathered here.
Charles Owusu-Kumi, many thanks for your time. Keep staying there and bring us up to speed as to what is going to happen there. Charles Owusu-Kumi is reporting live from the Black Star Square, where the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, is expected to speak to the youth group. Hansing, she made mention of something very important as of the time she was speaking to journalists together with President Nana Akufo-Addo as to helping Ghana with the IMF deal. I think this is a very important message that has been sent across to the citizenry and also to the country.
Well, we've made note of the reason for which she's making this visit, and our expectations were that some of these things will be touched upon, because already the government had reached out to some foreign countries and the United States, to be specific, to help in our ongoing engagements with the IMF. And currently a major obstacle in our quest to get this deal from the IMF is our ability to strike a debt exchange program with our external creditors. And the Paris Club is one of them, China is one of them, a number of other bilateral arrangements. Just yesterday, the Finance Ministry gave indications that there have been some form of preliminary agreements between the government of Ghana and China on how the debt exchange should progress. And so if we are getting that level of cooperation from China, and then we are getting the United States saying that it's going to put in a word for us with the Paris Club, then that means that we will be making headway externally, and also then we'll be left with other local measures that we have to meet, like passing the 3 revenue measures before Parliament, which I'm sure by Friday we'll know how things will proceed. But beyond that, even after we get the IMF deal, to avoid any acrimony between ourselves and our trading partners, it's good that we reach this external debt exchange in an amicable and a consensus manner. So for me, I think it's a great one. She also talked about security.
Very important.
And I think that we all know the security issues that we've been facing in the sub-region, terrorist threats, and amidst a number of other security issues. $100 million for these 3 nations, I think, will be good to shore up the security arrangements. But if you remember, yesterday we talked about the context within which she's making this visit, which is one way or the other, the level of competition between China and then the U.S. just yesterday, there have been reports that the BRICS, which is like a competition of a sort to the G7, the BRICS, which is made up of fast-rising economies, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. There have been reports that the BRICS have overtaken the G7 countries when it comes to the world GDP. The BRICS is currently trending on Twitter because there are reports that Mexico has also joined the BRICS. So it's really interesting, and there are also reports that Putin may be visiting Africa in the coming months. So the context within which all this is happening is very interesting. And this brings again back to the fore the issue about globalization and then the integrations. In 2001, the IMF gave out a statement on how Africa can be prepared to benefit from globalization. With this renewed interest in Africa, I think that it's time African countries and leaders strategize very well, as we mentioned yesterday, to benefit from this.
Having Putin in Ghana. To visit Ghana, yes. But when the vice president moves from the Black Star Square, should move to Cape Coast, where she's expected to visit the castle, among other places in that region. Away from that story, let's bring you the story of the former president, John Dramani Mahama, who is hopeful of winning the NDC presidential primaries.
Let's talk some NDC politics now. And former President John Dramani Mahama says he's confident of victory in the upcoming NDC presidential primaries. The former president expressed his optimism after facing vetting at the NDC headquarters in Adabraka in Accra. The flag bearer hopeful was accompanied by some constituency executives and some of his supporters. John Mahama, who is the first among the aspirants to be vetted for the opposition, was quizzed on his ideologies and vision for the party should he win the position. The following report by City News' Akosi Aotri has one.
It is the first day of the vetting exercise by the National Democratic Congress for flag bearer hopefuls, and today we are expected to see the former president John Dramani Mahama, who is contesting in this particular race. And so a lot of them have come here in their numbers to throw their support for the former president. Now we understand that it's a 12-member committee that is spearheading this particular vetting exercise and is chaired by the former Speaker of Parliament, Edward Do Ajaho. So we understand that the former president is done with his vetting and is yet to address his supporters.
Required by the party for all those who have filed their nominations. I first of all want to thank all those who have supported me, both morally, materially, for bringing us this far. I was asked questions about the party, how to strengthen the party, the electoral process. I was asked questions about the country and my views for repairing our damaged economy and also improving governance in Ghana. It was a very serious interview. But the work starts now, and I don't underestimate the onerous responsibility I'm taking upon myself. We would come together as one after I have emerged as a presidential candidate. That we will rally together in order to ensure that NDC wins a victory in the 2024 elections.
Emefa, Ayazuzuzu, Ayaza, 2025, Jomama Ba, Obia Bedi, Peche, Mantini Ye, 2025, John Mahama Ba, Obia Bedidi, Peche.
I'll just speak to some of the members of parliament and also party executives who have come here today with the former president to support him. I see you seem to be very excited about John Mahama coming for his vetting.
I'm excited because he's coming, but left to me alone, there should have been no presidential primaries. I declared that long before they even opened nominations. Right after our elections. But he's here, or he was here. So we are here to support him. I have declared my support for him. A lot, majority of my women also supported me in supporting John Dramani Mahama. It's very simple. He knows it. He's been there before. He has managed this economy. You heard him.
As a party executive, already people will be asking, why have you decided to be on one side?
I'm not on one side, I'm on the side of the person that I know will take us to the Flagstaff House, because the seat of government today is empty. We need somebody to come and rescue us from this predicament. We need somebody to come and rescue us if it's a curse that we brought upon ourselves. We need somebody that God to use to forgive us as Ghanaians.
I'm here to support the incoming president of the Republic of Ghana, and I'm more than excited to be part of the vetting process. And as a people, as a nation, we need a man like His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We call him the former president, and we call him the incoming president of the Republic of Ghana. We are all aware of the things he did during his tenure. It was a short period, but we all know. We can point out the things he did for our nation, Ghana. I remember people used to say the Green Book was a scam, but we came to realize that the Green Book, the things in the Green Book were reality.
He deserves it, so there's no other option than to give him what he deserves. You see, as at now, we as a political party are serving the interests of the nation. And there are a number of persons in the NDC that have the ambition to want to lead the party into the next government. But there's one name that cuts across that every Ghanaian is mentioning, especially those that are disappointed in the Nana Addo MPP administration. And it's just John Dramani Mahama.
Former President John Dramani Mahama is hopeful of gaining 100% of the votes come May 13 for the party through its vetting committee. On Tuesday, they will be hosting two of the other aspirants here at the party's headquarters in Accra. Reporting for City News, Akusia Ochre.
So that was John Dramani Mahama, who appeared before the vetting committee. Today, two other aspirants are expected to appear before the vetting committee. That is aspirants in the flag bearership race. Let's go live to the NDC headquarters in Adabraka and speak to my colleague Akusia Ochre, who is stationed there. Akusia, good morning. What is happening at the NDC party office? Who is expected to appear before the vetting committee today?
Good morning, Philip. So I'm currently at the headquarters of the National Democratic Congress, as stated earlier. We know that yesterday the former President John Dramani Mahama was here to face the vetting committee. Today, former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufo is currently facing the committee to be vetted. And we also expect Dr. Ernest Kweku Krobia, rather, to also face the committee right after Dr. Kwabena Dufo is done. As we speak, Kweku Krobia is in. He's in with his supporters and ready to face the committee. But today, not much of a crowd as we saw yesterday. Today, I haven't really seen a number of supporters of these two aspirants here to support. I believe that is because of the vetting. Vetting really, you don't see a number of supporters, but until the campaign and then the others follow, that is when we see a number of these supporters following them. But really, that's what is going on here, Philip.
And as well, if you are not seeing a number of supporters there, have you cited some maybe members of parliament, some bigwigs of the party who we saw yesterday when the former president was there? Is that the same situation today? If you can tell us about that.
No, Philip, I haven't quoted a single member of parliament here to support any of these two aspirants. Yesterday we saw a number of bigwigs here. Today, all I can see is the elections committee chaired by Kakra Isamwa. He has been around, of course, because it's within his mandate to be here for the vetting, and then also the 12-member committee that is spearheading this vetting process, and it's chaired by the former Speaker of Parliament, Edward Duataho. And so not really any member of Parliament or executive will be NBC proper to here to support these aspirants.
Many thanks for your time, Akosia Otri. Akosia Otri is my colleague in the City Newsroom, and she's stationed at the NDC headquarters, where two aspirants in the flag bearership race are being vetted. Well, that has to do with Dr. Kwabena Dufo and Ernest Kweku Krobia. Yesterday was former President John Dramani Mahama. He said that after he becomes victorious in the 2023, that is the presidential primaries, he's hoping that he's going to work with the other aspirants. What is your quick thoughts about the vetting that is going on so far?
Well, I mean, internal contests like this, of course, the party will want to certify itself that the various candidates actually are people who meet the criteria one to contest in a party, and also will meet the qualification criteria when subsequently they are voted for. It's an interesting one looking at the support that former President John Dramani Mahama has. Look at the bigwigs, look at the kind of the caliber of people who support him. And there are those who even made a point that there shouldn't even be a primaries in the first place. And you go to most of these NDC events, and he's being introduced as the president in waiting, the presumptive flag bearer of the NDC.
Well, he has said that experience, not experiment, and that is what they are rolling with.
It's interesting. I mean, the other candidates or hopefuls, they have also indicated that they have a firm belief that they can win it. They have a firm belief that delegates may see things from their perspective and give them the nod. It's an interesting one. We can only wish the NDC the best. Is the largest opposition party, and for a multi-party democracy to thrive, opposition parties are essential. So we can only wish them the best as they go through this reorganization process.
And of course, we're bringing you what these hopefuls will be saying. That is Dr. Kwabena Dufo and also Ernest Kweku Krobia after their vetting. You are still watching CNR Extra here on City TV, still to come. Trade Union Congress demands immediate reinstatement of local union leaders whose appointments have been terminated by Sunon Asogli Ghana Limited. And let's stay with us. We're back with more stories.
Creamy Plus is a fully skimmed evaporated milk. Creamy Plus is available in a shop near you.
This message has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Meet the new Mrs.
sure say your hospital go OP if you hear the final way I get for your dog.
I still have your underwear in my office drawer.
I could never imagine you would end up being my stepmother.
Anybody with the capacity to give you great joy can also bring you insufferable pain.
Many thanks for staying with us here on CNR Extra. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comments via WhatsApp line 0204447033, and we are streaming live on YouTube, on YouTube. And let's go to the floor of Parliament, where the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, says despite the challenges associated with the hung Parliament system, it is the best system to hold the executive arm of government accountable.
Let's move to the House of Parliament now, and the Speaker, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, says despite the challenges associated with the hung Parliament system, it is the best system to hold the executive arm of government accountable to the public. During an engagement with traditional leaders from the Awudome Traditional Council, Alban Bagbin spoke in support of the balanced system in Parliament. Our correspondent in Parliament is Ni Ayukwe Okan, and he has been following that story. Ni, please take it up.
Chiefs from the Awudome traditional area on Monday paid a courtesy call on the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, and urged him to maintain his impartiality on matters on the floor of Parliament.
We have observed with keen interest the unique sense of impartiality you have exhibited over the period as Speaker of the 8th Parliament. Your handling of tense situations on the floor of the August House has not only distinguished you as a true patron, it has also kept our democracy in check and at peace. We would like to use this opportunity to encourage you to maintain this balance fearlessly in the supreme interest of the Republic of Ghana.
In his interaction with the traditional leaders, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, says despite the challenges associated with the hung Parliament system, it is the best of systems to put the executive arm of government in check.
We're doing our best in spite of the challenges, because the changing over from a majoritarian system to a balanced hung Parliament is a new thing to Ghana. But we still have the old rules and the old habits and the old cultures and traditions of our military practice. So we are having difficulty in changing and also in getting Ghanaians to understand and appreciate what is happening in Ghana. But with time, I think people will come to accept that this is the best system. Even though my deputy speaker has called on you not to vote into any hung Parliament, which was this report. And he said so. I disagree with him because it is the decision of Parliament that can really hold the executive and you have to account to Ghanaians. The money and the resources they put in their hands have been utilized to the benefit of Ghanaians. So we don't have such a Parliament that has come to the minds of the executive. They run over Parliament and they do anything and you never know. That is why I support such a system.
Reporting from Parliament, my name is Ni Ayukwe Okan for City News.
The Speaker of Parliament says that the hung Parliament is an opportunity for the executive arm of government to be held accountable. But do you think this is happening? And is this even hung or near hung?
Well, this is a near hung Parliament. There's one person that separates the numbers, and this one person, even though has decided to do business with the majority, technically it is a near-hung parliament. Now, of course, even if it is not a hung parliament, I think that we all agree that the expectations were very high because the Parliament of Ghana previously has been described by a number of actors and analysts within the space as a rubber stamp of the activities of the executive. And so a great test in the eyes of the public will be if government has really been put to scrutiny and strict accountability by the members of Parliament. I mean, from the election of the Speaker, a lot of it heightened hopes more. The hopes were dwindled when it came to the approval of the three ministers, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, Hawa Kumsin, and also Ken Ofori-Atta. Then it came to the committee works on the on the vaccines and a number of other committee works, and then a lot of people got their hopes high of what this parliament can do.
Even with the
e-levy, a lot of people had their hopes high. And then recently we've had to do with this 6 ministers. But you have to dig deeper to see if indeed, you see sometimes we talk about national interest and then the question is really, is it the national interest? And then perspectives will come in. Even when it came to the e-levy, the majority felt that the stance that was taken by the minority was one that didn't go in according to national interest because government needed that money. But minority will say this was one that was putting a lot more burden on the Ghanaian people. But I think that to a large extent, the close numbers at least has made it a bit different, this parliament a bit different from
I think it has put a lot of pressure on Ghanaians, rather, because it makes the expectation of Ghanaians, we have more expectation from the members of parliament that a particular bill, a particular issue that is on the floor of parliament will be done in a particular way that Ghanaians think it has to be done. But at the end of the day, nothing happens.
I think that's
what we would have ordinarily seen if there was a majority, say 162 and some one something.
Scrutiny is always good, and the accountability that it comes with, it's always good. And the close numbers has ensured that at all material time when a matter of controversy or national importance is up for discussion, you get that level of attention that is being put to it. You get that level of scrutiny that you can get. It may not be the best. It may change for a number of reasons, but the close numbers, in my view, has helped. I mean, of course, even recently, you will still go to Parliament and you will find a lot of absentee MPs.
I think the close numbers has just helped in curbing the issue of absentees.
Yes, and it is a good one because previously there will be some important bills that will be treated in Parliament, and then you go and see the number of MPs who are treating them. So we can only, and I think that we should take an advantage of it and work on how we can strengthen Parliament. The conversation that is coming up again is political parties' influence in Parliament. To what extent can a political party ask their MPs to vote in a certain manner? This should give us the advantage to work towards strengthening Parliament because it is a central piece when it comes to our democracy.
Okay, so this brings us to the issue of the Member of Parliament for Kumewu constituency, the Ashanti region, Philip Basua, who has died, and he died at the age of 54. He was born in 1969 and died last night, but the details of his passing are not immediately known. Our condolences to the bereaved family. Away from that story, and let's bring you the story that has to do with the Trade Union Congress that is demanding the reinstatement of 3 of the local union leaders of Sonona Asogli Ghana Limited.
From education, let's move to labor issues now, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, is demanding the immediate reinstatement of 3 of its local union leaders, whose appointments have been terminated by the Sonona Asogli Ghana Limited. The union explains the contract of these leaders, whose termination was on the basis of their joining the union, is absurd. They bemoan the blatant abuse of Ghanaian workers and say it is getting to alarming levels, especially by foreign multinational companies, and this is creating tension on the labor front. The following report has more.
The message from the Trade Union Congress is clear. They say they won't stay aloof for any of their members to undergo any form of abuse and humiliation.
No worker, whether in the formal or informal economy of Ghana, will be allowed to suffer any form of injustice for choosing to join or form a trade union. Even the president of Ghana cannot stop us and stop any worker in this country from exercising his or her right.
Their message is on the back of the wrongful termination of contracts of 3 of their local leaders who were working with Sonona Asogli Power Ghana Limited. According to the union, the reason for their leaders' termination was because they joined a union called the Ghana Mine Workers Union, which is under the Trades Union Congress. They, however, bemoan the attitude by the company has implications for its members' constitutional rights to freedom of association. Speaking to the media, the Secretary General of the union, Dr. Yao, says an onward action will be taken if by April 3, 2023, Sonona Asogli Ghana Limited does not reinstate its local leaders.
Our demand is very simple. The first is that all our colleagues, the 3 leaders who have been sacked for no crime committed, must be reinstated immediately. Yes. We also want to use this forum to strongly caution management of Sonona Asogli Power Ghana Limited to refrain from any further acts of intimidation, fear, and panic being unleashed on our members in the company, and also stop the abuse of the rights.
So the leadership of TUC wants the reinstatement of the 3 leaders at the Sonona Asogli Ghana Limited by April 3. That reinstatement has to be done. These are the words of the General Secretary.
Well, we know that the matter is also before the National Labour Commission for redress. We are yet to hear officially from Sonona Asogli on this matter. Yeah. But the freedom of association is a freedom that has been guaranteed by the 1992 Constitution. And so if such allegations exist that a company is attacking that freedom that the Ghanaian worker has, I think that these are serious allegations that authorities will have to take the next steps.
Exactly. This can be dealt at the negotiation table. They should just go on the round table and just ensure that the issue is addressed one and for all. You're watching CNR Extra here on CTTV. Still to come. Ghana's Black Stars settle for a stalemate with Angola to stay on course to qualify to the 2023 AFCON. Stay with us. We'll be back with that story.
Of sharing his story and his praise. Ministering at the Silver Jubilee edition is praise and worship legend Don Moen. God is good all the time. The young, sensational and anointed minstrel Moses Bliss. And the host choir, the Evergreen Harvest Gospel Choir. As always, Harvest Theatre Center will deliver a soul-inspiring drama performance. Join us at the UPSA Auditorium on Good Friday, 7th April 2023, 4 p.m. sharp. Tickets, single, 80 Ghana cedis, double, 150 Ghana cedis, and VIP, 150 Ghana cedis. Dial *725*1155# on all networks and buy your tickets now. Tickets are also available at Airport Shell, Bachana Total, Sunny 88.7 FM, and all Harvest Chapel branches in Accra. Children are not left out. Children from ages 5 to 12 will enjoy an awesome experience at the HP Kids session featuring King's Kid, Louis Pascal, Casa Harry, and many more. Entry is free for kids once you purchase an adult ticket. Come, let's celebrate. It's the Silver Jubilee. Harvest praise. Get your praise on. See you there.
Welcome back to CNR Extra. Now, Ghana, yesterday, the Black Stars settled for a 1-1 draw with Angola. Let's bring you that inset.
From labor issues, we do sports, and the Ghana Black Stars settled for a 1-1 draw with Angola at the November 11 Stadium in Luanda to maintain its unbeaten run in 2023 AFCON qualifiers. 4 players who started against Angola at the Baba Yara Stadium were either benched in tonight's contest or missed out through varied injuries. However, Ghana survived an early scare from Angola and managed to get an equalizer through winger Osman Bukari to pull even with the 2010 AFCON host. City Sports' Yao Ajeminta has more in this report.
While injuries ravaged new Black Stars head coach Chris Hughton's early run with Ghana's national men's football team, the 63-year-old guided the team to record 4 out of a possible 6 points in back-to-back games against Angola. A 1-0 draw on the back of a 1-0 win at the Baba Yara for Hughton and his men was recorded earlier today in Luanda. Lucas Joao gave the Angolans the game's lead with a converted penalty early in the second half after a goalless first half. 3 quick-fire substitutions introduced direct pacey runners Osman Bukari, Joseph Paintel, and Iñaki Williams into the game to replace Kamaldeen Sulemana, Kudus Mohamed, and Antoine Semenyo. All 3 substitutes combined for Ghana's equalizer as Bukari swept home a cross from Paintel after getting set up by Williams' clever flick down the right side. For Chris Hughton, clinching a win and a draw isn't a bad start to life as Black Stars head coach.
We want you to use the spaces, utilize the spaces, and attack fast.
E queríamos utilizar os espaços para atacar rápido.
I thought once Angola scored the penalty,
Quando Angola marcou o penalti,
it gave us a lift. It gave us inspiration to get back into the game.
nos deu inspiração para voltar ao jogo.
And it's normal that Angola dropped maybe.
So that was an exciting game yesterday, though some Ghanaians were scared that the Black Stars was going to lose the match. But City Sports' Yao Ajeminta is here with me to give us more details of what happened yesterday. So what is the chance for the Black Stars as of now? In terms of the AFCON qualifiers?
Yes, the chances are still bright. The chances are still high for us to qualify to the next AFCON because as things stand, we lead Group E with 8 points, a point ahead of Central African Republic that lies in second place, and Angola has 5 points. And so we are still in the running to qualify to the next AFCON. And
how many matches are we left to play?
2 games, two more games left to play. One against Central African Republic and one against Madagascar.
What if we lose all 2?
If we lose all 2, then we have to play the calculation game once again because we have to depend on results of other games going in our favor to determine whether we'll qualify to the AFCON or not. And so our fate is in our own hands, basically. Once we get a win in our next 2 games, then we seal our place in the,
so at
the
least
AFCON.
a win in 1.
A win in 2 games will be fine.
So what of a win in 1?
A win in 1, that means our next game, then we have to win that game. Then
the reason why I'm saying that, it looks like we can't really bend all our hopes on the Black Stars, though we can give them
like I said earlier,
yesterday's match, actually, watching it, at a point I had to stop watching it because they were missing a lot of chances. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, well, we had a couple of chances where we should have taken the strike, a long-range strike, and that's where you missed the services of Thomas Partey, who didn't feature in that particular game because we created a lot of goal-mouth action, but we weren't able to get a killer pass through a through pass, and we weren't able to shoot from range, and those are the aspects that Thomas Partey thrives in. And so those were the things that we lacked in yesterday's game, particularly in the first half. But in the second half, Chris Hughton continued his good streak of making impact substitutions. And because you look at the game we played against Angola, the Babaya, where we won by a goal to 0, it was a substitute, Antoine Semenyo, who came off the bench and got that winner. And in yesterday's game, we considered a penalty from Joao Lucas in the 51st minute. And in the 72nd minute, after a series of substitutions, Chris Hughton brought on Joseph Paintel, Iñaki Williams, and Osman Bukari for Kamal Dean and Kudus Mohammed
for the 0 star.
Yes, the sweet celebration at the 2022 World Cup.
There've been conversations about,
and they came in and all three combined, and we got the equalizer goal.
There've been conversations about starting 11 going forward, talking about the changes that were made. And I mean, so you look at the role about Rahman used to play. Gideon Mensah came in as somebody who follows the sport. Were you particularly okay or happy about the performance put in place by Gideon Mensah? Also, the likes of Osman Bukari, he's not been getting the opportunity to be a starter in our games. If we look at Kamal Dean and do you think there should be some changes depending on what we've seen with the changes that were made in mid-game?
Yeah, well, it depends on the opponent we play against. Well, in boxing, they say styles make fights. Well, in football too, the context of the opponent, what they bring to the table is also important. And so if you are chasing a game, as we were against Angola yesterday, you bring on direct pacey players and you have guys supply them the passes. So that's where Osman Bukari's introduction was key. But that's where Jose Pintel's introduction was key.
But why can't you start the game itself with direct pacey players and go for goal?
And that's where Chris Hughton needs to get the starting unit right in terms of the tactical outlay of the formation. And so if you have a guy like Kudus Mohammed being deployed as the main guy behind the lone striker, then you are likely not to have he play a lot of through balls to that striker because he is not that type of guy. But when you have a guy like Thomas Partey playing behind the striker, then you are likely to have him play those through balls to the striker because even in the EPL, you look at the statistics outlay, Thomas Partey ranks second in the EPL in terms of passes played into the final third. In terms of forward passes, he ranks in the top 10. I think he's 9th. And so that's where he thrives. That's the category he thrives in. So we need to give him a lot of protection in terms of defense, in the defensive cover. Then pretty much free him for him to be able to move a little bit outfield and stay outfield, and for him to be able to concentrate on.
Are we getting an idea of what really Chris Hughton wants to play, the style he wants to play, the tactics he's bringing on board, or 2 games is not enough?
Just a brief one on that. Then the final question will be, when is the Black Star expected to meet another country that is in the group? And if you can just tell us that briefly.
Well, with Chris Hughton, he has always stated that he wants to play organized style of football. So you are likely not to see the kind of aggro football that Ghanaians are known for, where we are known as the Brazilians of African football. Free-flowing, entertaining football, where we give up a lot of opportunities to opposing teams, and we create other opportunities on the opposite
When
side.
is the Black Star playing again?
In July. Once the season, the club's football season in Europe ends, then we get in action and play those 2 games.
Okay. Many thanks for your time, City Sports Yao, J. Minta there. And this is how we wrap up today's edition of CNR Extra here on CCTV. My name is Philip Nihlacha. I did this with Hansen Ajiman. Many thanks for your time and keep watching CCTV.